Hello and welcome to another Portsmouth Basketball podcast. I'm your host, Mark.
I am Paul. Hello.
Hello, how are you? We've got another guest today. They just keep dropping out of the sky.
Yeah, we have got a fantastic guest today.
How fantastic?
Well, we've talked about subjects like coaching and how much time goes in the coaching, stuff like that. Today we have got a coach who can answer all those questions.
And how successful is this coach?
Oh, let's ask him.
Let's find out.
Let's find out. Here we go.
Who's our guest, Paul?
You know what? The reason I'm stopping is because I'm doing the mixing at the same time, and it's a challenge, Mark.
It's like watching my mum type on a phone, honestly.
Yeah. Anyway. And now, stand and cheer for your Under-18s National League head coach, Tom Milner. Tom, hello.
That's quite an intro, thank you.
You're welcome.
You like that, didn't you?
That was a good one.
That was not bad.
That was a good one.
Better.
Critiquing. So, Tom, how are you?
Yes, I'm good, thank you. Yourselves?
Very good.
Nice. Nice to have you here, sir.
Thank you. Yeah, and it's good to be here and talk about basketball. So.
Yeah, well, you know, I'm just going to give you a bit of an update on basketball. National League-wise, you know, we're just talking about it really briefly before we press record with Tom. Mark, we have got some major changes coming in the 2004-2005 season.
What are they?
The actual setup of the league is changing. So they're reducing the number of Division 3 teams.
Okay.
Division 3 teams. Division 3 sections. So at the moment, I think there's 8 parts. They split Division 3 into the country.
Okay.
I think they're reducing that down to 4.
I believe it's 4, yeah.
And they're going to bring back the old, like I remember it when I was playing a decade ago, the old National League 4 division, but they're calling it the conference or the regional conference.
Something along those sort of lines.
I mean, we've really skimmed through the BE notes because of the pod, but so I think a few more teams are going to get promoted in that first season to Division 2.
Is that going to be like the NBA's got the play-in scenario kind of thing?
Kind of, yeah. It's more about, hopefully, the goal's always going to be get promoted. So hopefully, Daniel and the boys do it this season and get us promoted, which would be amazing to be a Div 2. But if not, and we stay in Div 3, then it should be a better league. As such, the standard should be higher. So that's going to be the good thing, that, you know, a better standard across the board, which means we need better players and, you know, go from there.
Well, as you are an avid listener of this podcast, Tom, you will have known that Paul has stated we are winning the league this year.
Good. No, I
stated
agree.
it factually.
I agree. I 200% behind Paul.
200%.
Wow, thanks,
Yeah,
Tom.
I'd love us to win the league. Absolutely love it and win the league. I'd love going down on a Saturday night to Ravelin Park and getting behind the team and all the fun and games that goes on with it. It's great.
I think we're all ready to go, aren't we?
Oh, yeah.
We're all, you know, egging, ready for the season to start, and we got that Solent Kestrel's game coming up for the Mickey Byrne Trophy.
We actually had that question on that. Is that going to be an annual thing?
I hope so. I don't see any reason why it can't be. From my point, it's great because, you know, Mick was a legend in both Portsmouth, and he had a lot to do with the setup of the old Solent Stars team back in the day and what they're, and obviously they've got their links to Mick as well as we have. So it makes sense that we're the two bigger clubs closest to Mick's heart. So yeah, make it an annual event. And
yeah, I think it should.
Yeah.
And you know, for whatever reason, if the Kestrels don't turn up, we assign ourselves the trophy that year.
They forfeited. So it's us.
Yeah.
We're not even 5 minutes in, and you're already throwing your handbags out. Blimey.
But some more news, Mark. I mean, I heard this the other day. You know, we've talking about Faye and Dean. And she, you know, was originally from the Portsmouth Youth set up with Simone Couture, and then she went and played with the Kestrels for quite a few years and Itchen College and stuff like that. She is now, obviously, we were saying about she was the MVP of Division 1 National League. she's now gone to take her talents to the London Lions in the women's BBL.
Wow.
And I believe they're in Europe as well, aren't they?
Are they?
I know that the men's team were in Europe competition last year.
Oh wow.
So I think the women's team might have been as well.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% on that, but yeah, so she could be playing top level European basketball for them. You know,
And
that's the level of club London Lions are.
So let's just hang on that, Tom. Where she's gone through on that stage is that, I want to say ultimately the progression you'd want to see from a player.
It's a massive jump.
Yeah.
From, you know,
Huge
playing
jump.
Div 1 MVP, yeah, you'd always assume, especially someone quite young like Faye, she'd especially think, yeah, they can jump up to play in the BBL, but to go from, you know, you'd expect them to go to maybe one of the mid tier BBL teams before going to the big guns. But, you know, London, they won a lot last year, and she's gone up to the big club, and now in Europe and stuff like that. It's a massive jump. So fair play to her. Yeah, fair play to her. It's amazing.
And, you know, I always, you know, will believe things when they happen. But, you know, she did say that she was open to coming on the pod, Mark.
Faye, if you're listening, no, Faye, you are listening. So please come and have a chat with us. Tell us about that journey. That sounds awesome.
Her story would be amazing.
Congrats. Total congrats.
I'm sure she'll want to talk about some of her coaches. There's one in particular. Is it Vicky Milner?
Yeah, I believe so. At Itchen.
Yeah, she's an exceptional coach. You know, she's been doing the Division 1 women's Itchen. I mean, she's just consistently being successful. And, you know, I think Faye's progression is just, again, another highlight for her. So, yeah. Great news, isn't it?
That's fantastic news. That's really, really good news. So when's that season kick off then?
It's all the same.
It's all
September.
October.
Or late September, yeah. So Tom, moving on to you and your involvement in basketball. So how did you get into basketball?
So when I was younger, I used to play at National League level for Portsmouth Fire back in the day under Jason Colgan. I'll be honest, we were rubbish in our age group. Yeah, we weren't good at all. You know, our coach was way better than us, but we went out there and we played some tough matches. You know, my biggest highlight from then, we played a team called the London Leopards. We played a youth team who were on the league down at something called Whitechapel. And when they turned up, this team all had the London Leopards uniform, which was a BBL equivalent team at the time.
Oh, wow.
And, you know, we were sort of 14, 15 years old, and there's these kids dunking in the game. And, of course, it's nothing that we'd seen before. So we sat back going, great. But when they turned up, I said, when you're away game and you're coming to London in January or whenever it was, we're not going to host you at our Whitechapel gym. You're going to come and play in London Arena.
Oh, wow.
And it's going to be a warm-up match for the Leopards BBL game afterwards, and you can have free tickets to stay and watch the game afterwards. So we were like, this is awesome. Yeah,
sign me up. I'll sit on the bench. I don't care.
Do you know what? In that game, I think I started, but I think about 2 or 3 minutes, I fell, something went, and I messed my toe up, and I hobbled around for the rest of the game.
Oh, no.
So I literally, about a minute later, I hobbled off and I was sat on the bench, and I just couldn't get back on. I was gutted. You know, the nicest place I've ever played in, and I injured myself in 2 minutes.
I didn't realise Jason, I mean, with the Portsmouth Fire, that was men's National League, and I think they were in Division 3.
Yeah, I believe so.
I didn't realise he was doing National League for all the youth.
There was him and a guy called Jerry Thomas who was coaching as well, the youth, between the two of them. Yeah, and I think Jerry was more the coach for my team, the cadets, and I think Jason did the juniors and the men's team, obviously. But the junior program didn't last very long. It was 18 months tops, I think. I think we kind of got people left after our first season when we didn't win. I think we might have won 1 game that first season, and then all the players, I've had it with this, I'm not playing anymore, sort of thing. And you know how it goes.
Yeah.
Which is why it's so, from a coaching, you need to know your team and get them in at the right level. And if you are going to go straight into National League, you need to make sure those boys are prepared.
Yeah.
That it's going to be tough.
But it is a journey, isn't it? I mean, we've learned firsthand, you know, working with those fun and fundamentals for years to get to the point, probably I'd say maybe 5, 6, 7 years to get to the point where we're like, right, we can have an under 14 National League and under 12, and then it's slowly built up over the last few more years that we now got men's.
Yeah, and it's massive, and you can see that from, I think from my under-18 team this season, I've got about 3 or 4 who might have come along on the Sunday sessions off the top of my head.
Oh, really?
From back in the day, because obviously my son Harry's in that team. And there's a couple of guys who used to come on the old under-12 session we used to do on a Monday night who started there as well. So, they've sort of come through. I know the under-16s team, which my other son Charlie plays on, they've got about 6 or 7 who started coming on the old Sunday morning sessions all those years ago.
And that's nice for the coaches. Yeah. I always enjoy watching the kids play when it's like, I remember trying to teach you to bounce a ball, and you're playing National League under 12s, under 14s. I think coaches generally, get a buzz from that.
It's great for us from the whole coaching all the way through from the fundamental guys to us at the National League level. We're kind of seeing those guys and the work they're putting in on a Saturday and a Sunday morning, where they're teaching them to shoot properly, teaching them to dribble, all the sort of basics of the game, and then the boys or the girls who really want it, they're coming through, and then they're getting into the, we had trials for the first time earlier on this season, but they're getting into it and go, actually, you know what, I really want to play proper basketball. We've had some who've come in, played a game at local league level and thought, oh, no, I don't want basketball now, I don't want to play it anymore, which is fair enough. But the ones who want it are the ones who go, okay, I've seen some guys who are absolute stinkers in their first game. They've come back to training the following week and gone, right, actually, I'm going to listen more now, I'm going to work harder now, because I want to play that game next time, and I don't want to be the guy who's letting the team down. I want to be the guy who's leading. It's great.
Just going back to you playing with Jason Colgan, the Portsmouth Fire, I just remembered a story, because I was playing with Mick, but I was also playing with around Jason's teams as well. But we were little, weren't we? And I actually saw him about 4 or 5 weeks ago.
Oh wow!
A few months, 2-3 months.
And I was actually a little bit worried he was going to tell me off, but I said to him, this is his first National League game as the Portsmouth Fire. It was a home game in the University St Paul's,
that's it.
And at one end they've got this storage cupboard, but he asked me to climb up on top of the storage thing and film the game from there. And he gave me a chair, and he goes, your job is just to film the game so we can go back and watch it. And I remember at the time you had this amazing program called Dazzling Dunks and Basketball Bloopers. Don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
And sometimes they would do this digital effect on the play. And I found a button that automatically did this digital effect. So this is the first National League game he's played under his team. And anytime someone drives in, I press this button and it just turns into digital. I thought it was amazing. I thought literally this is Dazzling Dunks and Basketball Bloopers level.
Yeah.
This is amazing. And the next time I saw him, he had a go at me. He really had a go at me. He was like, hello, Mr. Digital. What did you do? You ruined my first game. And he must have said it in a way that when I saw him at this wedding, I was like, hey, Jason, sorry about that video. Can you remember that? And he goes, I have no idea what you were talking about. I was like, all right. But, yeah.
Yeah, Jason was a good coach, and learned a lot from him and from Mick and all the other coaches that I've been involved in. But one session that strings in bells will really remember is we had a game on the Saturday night for the men's team had a game, and at the time it was £1 or something like that to come and watch the game. And when you went in to prove it, they gave you a raffle ticket. And he said to us, a training session 4, he said, if you come to the game, I want you to bring your raffle ticket to training the next day. And okay, cool. So paid my £1 to go in. I chucked away the raffle ticket. But I made sure that Jason saw me at the game. I said hello to him, high-fived all the team and all that, because we were quite close to the men's team back then, and it was a great thing. Next day, turned up to training. Right, who's got their raffle tickets? 6 or 7 lads pulled out their raffle tickets. A couple of us didn't. He went, where's your raffle ticket? Didn't you come to the game last night? I come to the game. You know I was at the game. We talked. He went, yeah, I know, but I asked you to bring a raffle ticket back. Oh. Well, in that case, you're not doing it. And he had us crawling up and down the court.
Oh no, bear crawls.
Yeah, just come on, next time you remember your ticket. So I think afterwards, one of the lads decided he was buying a book of raffle tickets, and he kept them in his bag. So if we come to the game, we got your raffle ticket.
Why did you want the raffle ticket for?
Maybe. I think it was just a ticket, and that's all he could get at the time. It wasn't a proper, ticket.
Have you used that coaching method yourself?
Not yet. Not yet.
That's one for the back pocket, isn't it?
They haven't annoyed me that much yet.
Yeah,
Yes.
you bring your Portsmouth Force men's ticket to practice, or you're doing
Yes.
suicides.
Yeah.
There we go.
Or I don't know whether they're going to do it this year, but did you see at the trials?
Oh, the
All the
stamps.
players have the stamps on the hands. So I'm not sure whether they're going to do a hand stamp thing this season or not for people coming in. So it's like, right, if you do that, we're training Monday, it's Saturday. I don't want you to wash your hand until Monday because I still want to see that stamp in your hand.
You can't wash for 2 days.
Can't wash 2 days.
I mean, you highlighted it briefly. I mean, I know that's where, I met you and your brother was a Saturday morning with Mickey Burns. So, I mean, just reflecting on Saturday morning, when we had the curtain and you get on the other side of the curtain and stuff, like you got memories of that and Mick.
Yeah,
and
it was always a massive achievement, wasn't it? That time you got asked to step up. You know what I mean? You go along and, when you first started, you were probably bouncing it with 2 hands and, not playing properly and just doing it. And then, you slowly picked up your handles, got better, your jump shot showed a bit more proper form, and just playing better in the little games at the end. And then, 1 week, Mick, actually, Tom, do you want to go the other side? And there was times for a couple of months sometimes where you used to tween between the two. And it was because he would look at it and go, well, actually, who I've got on the good side? Or actually, I've got 12 guys on the good side, so actually I don't need anyone. Or the next week, I might only have 8 people on the good side, so I need to pick a couple. So he'd look at that side and go, actually, right, yeah, Tom, you come over and play on the other side.
You had to work hard to stay on the side.
Yeah.
And I
You had to
remember
work,
Mark
yeah.
saying
We've
this,
talked about the curtain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The curtain was a thing.
but it was a big deal when
was.
you got asked to move from one side to the other. It was a big deal because it was almost Mick acknowledging, all right, you're ready. And then,
And just to reiterate what I said before, it wasn't you were politely asked. It'd be like, what are you doing here? Go over there.
you'd be like, yeah, what? I think in the later days, it turned into 2 different courts. I think you had a lot of players and it was 2 courts and you had the curtain and then the even better players went to the other court. And then from there, you'd get invited to the Monday night session.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think it's great, that sort of thing. We kind of do it a little different. It's more done on age groups because we've got all these teams in the National League and local league. We want the guys to go to the right age group session for them. And it's a big thing when all of a sudden you stepped up from the 14s to the 16s, for example. And we've seen it a lot with our guys last year. We had 12 of the 15 guys in our National League squad last season, under 14s, had all moved up to under 16s this year because of their age. Out of those 12, I think 5 or 6 have made it to the National League squad, and the others have gone to the local league. And it's because at the time, I don't think they appreciate how big a step up it is from under 14s to under 16s.
It's a massive step.
Because all of a sudden, under 14s, you're in year 9, you're one of the biggest in your year group, more physically advanced, you're probably faster than a lot of the other guys. All of a sudden, you go up to year 10 and you're playing under 16s where you've got some guys at year 11 you're playing against. So these guys have got a whole year.
Yeah.
And if you're one of the youngest in the year,
You're going to struggle.
you could have 2 years where you've got that gap. And it's really tough.
And growth spurts as well.
Growth spurts are real things. They happen. Yeah,
Yeah.
massively.
Yeah.
And with the trials, you also had I think the one I focused on was the under 16 was like 46 kids or something
Ridiculous,
like
wasn't it? Yeah.
that. But
massive.
it was like, again, it's a nice problem to have, but at the same time, 46. If you're one of the younger one in the younger year, you're going to struggle.
How do you say to a kid that age, sorry, you're not in the team?
It's really difficult. I mean, we were...
Because you don't want to put them off.
No, exactly. No, we were dealing with a lot via email because we didn't... It's not fair for me, it's not fair at the end of the trial session on the Sunday to go, right, okay, read out a list of names. Can you go stand over there?
That's
read
old
out a list of
school.
names.
Happy Gilmore special.
Exactly.
That was the. I remember being in some Hampshire tryouts and Southeast England tryouts and stuff like that, and literally the coach read names out and he goes, "If I haven't read your name, thanks for coming." And it was ruthless.
Yeah.
I've seen a more savage one. They read out some names, and the guys came over and they went, "Right, you guys go grab your stuff."
Wow. They did
So
the other way around.
they thought, oh, they've called my name, I'm safe. It's like, no, I called your name, you're out.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that's a bad one.
It's such a hard thing, and I think especially with today's youth and the way things are going, you can't single kids out in front, especially in a trial situation like that, and there are different reasons why some kids make it and some kids don't.
Yeah.
What I think sometimes is easier, or not easier, where we have a relationship with some of the kids already because they've been at our club for years, so we kind of know them. So for those guys, it's probably a little bit less pressure at the trials because the coaches have already coached them for a year, already know them, already seen them at trials, so they already know what they can do. So when they're coming to the trial for our club, they know the coaches, so they don't necessarily have to really, really impress like a guy who's come from another club to the city, or come from the streets, come from, you know, I play down Orchard Park on a every day, and you know, I want to try and get into league. They've got to come into that trial and they've got to really impress in order to go, actually, do you know what, we want to see some more of you. And I know what the 16s have done this season. I believe the 14s did it, and I know the 18s have done it as well. We've taken a few more for the summer. So, you know, I had 25 at the under 18s. I've taken 20 on for the summer and said, look, we're extending the trials. No one's safe at the moment. And then we're going to go from there. We're going to watch how you learn over the summer. And I've made it my point saying, if you're going on holiday, let me know. If you can't make a session, let me know, because the big thing for me is commitment. I don't want to give you a spot on my team if you're not going to come to training. And we've got a couple of lads who basically have turned up once since July. So to me,
making your job easier, aren't they?
To me, right, I've got to narrow my team down to from 20 to 15. Your name's on that list of people who's not going to come.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter even if you are the best player on the team. We've got another lad who's gone on holiday for like 3-4 weeks. But before that, when we were doing training, he turned up to every single session. So he's told me he's on holiday, so I'm not expecting him. But actually, I'm not thinking, he's one of the guys who, you know, I could rest or drop. You know, he's one of the guys, actually, do you know what? I know how committed he is.
Yeah.
And you need to keep that commitment. So there's no point trying to teach him plays if they're not there.
And I do think the way the club composed themselves from the trials with the emails, I just thought it came across quite professional. And if anyone wanted to talk about it, the coaches, individual coaches, were available to people to say, this is the reasons behind that decision. So, just from the outside, I thought the club did it well. I would say, and this is just my approach, is just forget all the BS with kids and just tell them as it is. Just tell them straight. So
I think that's a thing that you can do, kind of, to the ones that you don't know who don't make it to trials. Send them up. Thank you very much. Unfortunately, you're not made the National League squad or the local league squad this season, but we are offering a fun and fundamental training session on a Saturday morning that you're allowed to attend to help improve your game ready for next season.
Yeah.
And I think that was kind of the basis of the email that went out to the guys who didn't make either team. The ones who made the local league, they got to say, yeah, you're training with the local league guys. This is the time, and this is what we're going to do. And the guys who made the National League, and there was a few guys who said, actually, come along to the extended trials for National League, and then at some point the coach will make that decision. But from that point, because you can be more personal with that player and say, right, this is the reason why.
Yeah.
You can put it and say, this is the reason why you've not made it, because of this, because of commitment, like I just talked about with the other lad, or because actually we think you're maybe a step behind where some of the other guys are. You need to improve this and this. However, go to the local league, work your socks off for the next year. And also from development, especially for the guys who've just come up to under 16, so the year 9 guys who going into year 10, you got that question, are you going to get more experience and better training with the National League squad, but maybe only getting a couple of minutes, if that, in a game at National League level? Or are you going to get better by training with the local league guys and then playing 20-25 minutes a match when they've got their matches? You know, what's going to be better for your development? And for the younger guys in that group, most times it's probably going to be better for you to actually play the game.
Yeah.
You know, especially we had a lot in our under-14s last year who was first year of National League basketball, or first year of any sort of organised team basketball, you know, and they did a great job. You know, I don't think that our division was that strong last year. We had a couple of teams who were really good, and us, and then the 4 teams, I think it was, that were below us weren't very good. There was a couple that were very easily beatable, you know, big wins, and it's kind of, that's the development that we need to kind of help those guys to build up. But then again, it's another thing, you've entered the National League. You know, if you enter in the National League, you've got to expect you're going to be up against some good teams. Yeah,
and I think you are, I don't want to say putting yourself down a little bit, but I think the work that you did with those players made them better players. So when I was watching your team in particular, it's like, you know what, these are you know, they're pretty good kids.
Yeah.
You know, they can play. So I know you said the teams, some of them might not have been as good, but I think rather than think of it like that, I think you were actually a fairly good team.
It was nice to be in that conversation. So the year before, when I was on assistants with Dan on the under-14, we finished 4th that year, but the top 2 teams, I think it was, top 2 teams in that division were a real head and shoulders above everyone else. I mean, they beat us by sort of 60, 70 points. So they were beating the teams at the bottom massively. Now, when we played the teams at the bottom, we were getting those nice big wins that gave the lads a load of confidence and stuff like that. And we had some closer matches in the middle of the league, but we were still getting beat by those 2 top teams at the top. And that's probably where Basketball England can look at things and go, actually, do you know what? Those 2 teams were in the wrong division.
Yeah.
They shouldn't have been conference level. They should be in the Prem. And that's the way they've kind of got to look at it. Actually, these guys should be at the higher level. And if that was the case, and they were, which is probably the reason why we did a lot better last season, that we were then up there with the top teams rather than being down at the bottom. But the top teams that we played last year, we didn't get embarrassed by them, which was the thing I was most proud of. You know, we went to the Kestrels, who won the league. They won all 14 games. We went there and we lost by, I think it was 30, and we only lost by 20 at home. When you look at the teams down the bottom who were having, you know, 120, 130 point losses to them, it's actually, do you know what?
Yeah.
We were a lot closer to these teams.
I'm not a fan of that. I've said this before. You know, I'm not focusing on any team, but I'm not a fan when a team beats someone by 100 points, like a deficit of 100 points. I just think, what's the point? And you know what? Funnily enough, I was in my car today and I was just thinking about this, and I don't understand why BE haven't set the league up so if you got 2 teams tied on points, they don't base it on the points difference between the 2 games between those teams. Now, I know your first thought is going to be, okay, what happens if you lost one game by 2 and then won the next game by 2? Okay, well, think of another way. Go to the 3rd team and see what the difference in, rather than saying we're going to add all your points up, all your, you know, your
point differential in basketball it's not like football where you get point differential because most games are 1, 2, 3-0. You don't get that many sort of 6, 7 nils in a football season. You know what I mean? They're all kind of fairly close-ish, and when it all adds up at the end of the season, that point differential, goal differential, can make a massive difference. But for basketball, where points are so easily scored, and you can score 100, 120 points a game, you know, that point differential, and it does encourage the teams at the top to absolutely smash the other teams.
Because they know the other teams. Yeah. And I'm not a fan of that at all. And I think BE should change something so that those top teams haven't got a benefit of killing someone by 150 points. I mean,
you stole my question. My question was going to be to Tom, how would you structure the league? Would you change anything? Is there anything obvious? I mean, you guys are talking about this now. It makes total sense. But
I know this is a big thing for them to do.
Clean sweep. You could start again right now.
Well, maybe you could have a look halfway through the season. So instead of having it a case of we've got 12 teams in our league. So here's your 22 games that you're playing this season. But obviously you play them all once, and then you play them all the second time, home and away. But maybe after you've played everyone the first time, you then quickly take a look at the league and then look at the other conference in the south, because I think we're in the south and there's a southeast conference, and then maybe have a look at it and go, well, actually, do you know what? We've got these teams at the top half of both of those 2 leagues. Actually, we'll move those and they can be the south top teams.
Like a transfer
halfway through. And then because the teams at the bottom, then, okay, well, we're at the bottom of this league and other teams at the bottom of their league, we got a chance then. Whereas they've just lost every game in that first round of matches and sometimes lost big. They're going to be thinking when that second time king comes around that it's going to happen again, and you can see the kids getting dejected.
Saba did that for a couple of years. Saba did it, so you played half a season, and then I think it was, I'm trying to remember what it was. I think it was like a East-West, and it was just one division.
Yeah.
And then after Christmas, they went, based on your results, these are the divisions.
Yeah.
So you could start in, say, Division 2, and after Christmas you're in Division 1 because you've got a better team and stuff like that. So that was a good way to do it. I do think, for me, the fundamental thing is they need to remove that point difference.
Yeah.
Because it's just...
For me personally, when I'm coaching, especially towards the end of the last season. I think we played our first 2 games were against the top 2 teams. So we went in after the first 2 games, we were 1-0, lost 2. And then we went on a 5-game win streak. Yeah, and then we had those 2 top teams again. So we're like, right, okay. And we gave them matches, we played really hard and everything like that. But then afterwards, it's a case for me, it's okay, right, okay, well, I know that maybe one of those teams is one that's going to give us a half-decent matchup. But the final 3 games of the season were against teams that we should beat easily. So for me, it was a case of, well, actually, do you know what? Do I need my 3 best players to play as much as I did against a top team? Because they're not learning and developing through playing easy matches, you know. And it's like the local league. There was a rule last season that you were allowed to take 1 or 2 National League players into the local league matches. We would use it to send our guys who weren't getting minutes. So I'd look at the guys and say, actually, do you know what? You haven't played for the last 3 games. So I want you to go and play with the local league team to get that development, to get that into it, you know, practice skills in a game, because we're playing top teams. So I want you to go and play these guys and come back better and stronger from it. Other clubs might have been going, well, actually, do you know what? We're going to send our 3 best National League players to go and destroy the local league. And you kind of think, what's the point of that? What's that kid learning? That kid's learning that, actually, do you know what? I've beaten everyone at National League level. Now I'm going to drop to the local league and destroy everyone at local league level. And to demoralise our clubs.
By you saying that just says to me, you're a good coach.
It's about development, isn't it? That's exactly what you've got to be. It's for a youth coach, you shouldn't be wins and losses. Everyone loves winning, don't get me wrong. And I want all our teams to win as much as possible and develop. However, if you're winning because you've got one guy who's trying to do everything themselves, you're not developing your whole squad. You're just developing that one guy. And yeah, he may be great and he may have the opportunity to do really well, but you're not helping out the other 10, 12, 15 guys in your squad who actually really want to improve and play basketball. And especially, you know, if I took at the under-16 team 2 years ago, we had that. We won the conference. And at the end of the season, one of the best players, or a couple of the best players, went, I'm going to go to Itchen College now. So they went to Itchen College, and then all of a sudden they had gone away, and we ended up with 4 under-18 players, which is why we didn't have an under-18s team last season, because we didn't have the infrastructure there, because half the team was still under-16, so they were still there. The 6 or 7 who had moved up to under-18s that we were hoping to base a team around, a couple of them left to go to Itchen. The 4 or 5 who were left, we couldn't get lads in to join them because they didn't want it at the time. Whereas now we've got those 6 or 7 who come up from under-16s. We've got a load of guys from local league, and what's really good from the trials is we got guys from other local league clubs in the area as well. So I've got a couple of guys who played local league for Havant last season who come along to the trials, and actually, you know what? You got something there, you know. And you know, I think there was a team in Milton. I think I got 1 or 2 from the Milton team as well who come along and played well at the trials.
Yeah, I think Chris is the coach. I want to say Chris. I want to say he was a National League player at a certain point. He was a real tough physical player. I know he played for Mick local league as well for the Smugglers. So I think him as a coach and that Milton team is just, I mean, great if anyone's in that team.
Yeah,
I think from what I saw, they were all right. Yeah. They were all right. I mean, just talking about the trials, I'm just curious from your perspective, is it difficult when you got all those kids there? I mean, yours was not as hard as like the ones who had 46 and 36 and stuff like that, but you've still got 25.
Yeah.
Is that hard?
It is. It is, because you're assuming that everyone there really wants to play National League basketball. You know, that's your assumption. They come up to trials, you want to play. And just watching them play, and it's really hard, especially with the ones that you don't know. You know, I don't know what player X is doing or how he's playing, and to try and get that kind of background from him through quick conversation at the side, like, I have interest, where did you play last season? Have you played for a team before? You know, you kind of want to know that information because you want to know what potentially you might be taking onto the team. So is that someone who's never played organised basketball before? They're just someone who plays down Orchard Park and a friend told them to come and play. And we had a couple of those guys, and a couple of them have made the extended trials and done really well from it. But you kind of want to know, right, is anyone here come from another club and played at a good level? We had one guy who's come from the Kestrels next season. He was part of the under-16 Prem team last season that did really, really well.
He saw the light, Mark.
Did you woo him? Did you say,
someone
wrong wrong place.
I think he's I don't know him, but he comes across like a very sensible kid, and just thought, you know what, I'm going to go from red to blue.
He played under 12s for us years ago, and because we weren't a National League club at the time, he went to the Kestrels because he wanted to play National League basketball, and he's done really well. But I think he's Waterlooville based, and
He came home.
because he didn't want to go to Itchen, and Kestrels under 18s is basically Itchen College, his team. So if you want to play for the Kestrels under 18 team, you have to go to Itchen College. And he lives in Waterlooville, hasn't got his transport to get to there, doesn't want to go there. He wants to stay local. And now we're here. We've got that offer of, well, actually, you can still play National League basketball and you don't have to go to Itchen College.
Red is a very negative colour, isn't it, Mark? Blue is a lot more calming.
Well, it does indicate the word stop, usually, doesn't it? So, just saying.
The sky is blue.
The sea is blue.
And you know what? I do think that, Solent Kestrels, I don't want to, maybe monopolised is probably the word I'd say, because I remember there was one young guy, Zion Lawson.
Yeah.
And he went to Kestrel's tryouts. I was like, brilliant, good luck. And when he came back, he was like, there was 80 kids there. And I was like, 80 kids? He goes, yeah, and they picked 12. It's like, wow. Got the best 80 players. They picked the best 12.
Yeah.
And then the rest filter out to Portsmouth or Whiteley or something like that. But I do think that is changing.
I'm hoping that we're now providing a decent alternative along this side of Southampton especially.
Yeah.
Guys, I know there is Winchester who've got a National League set up as well, so they've got it from the other side of Southampton, but generally anyone, Fareham, Portchester, this kind of side of Southampton now, we've got a decent choice now. They don't have to drive to Southampton for training if they want to play National League basketball. We've got an option for them to have now and come and try out for us as well. Likewise, we have big numbers at trials, and it is hard playing, trying to narrow those kids down. But it's good that there is the option of a second National League team over here, and then even further, GSD and Chichester. They're not far either. So it's picking up basketball on the south coast is massively growing from where it was a few years ago, where you had, I think Brighton Worthing Way have got quite a good setup in that sort of area. They've got a few teams that
they've
are
been
national
consistent
leagues
for a while
and got that, but because they've got a load of different teams that are playing local league and a load of different teams that are actually playing National League level, the kids have got somewhere, they've got that choice. Whereas in this side, probably Hampshire, apart from Winchester have come on maybe a year or two, maybe 3 before us, and now we've come on the National League. We're now kind of, actually, do you know what, there's 3 clubs that you can play for if you want to play National League basketball in Hampshire, in the south of Hampshire. So it's kind of giving people that choice. Now, I've got no problem. They want to choose the Kestrels, want to go, that's fine. But there is an option. There is an option. You can come to Portsmouth.
Mark, why do you have a problem?
I don't feel you need to drive out your city. Just represent your city.
Hey, you know what? That's the one thing I remember about Mickey Byrne. He was just like, you don't go outside Portsmouth. He goes, why would you be playing outside Portsmouth? Like, he drilled it into you.
I'm going to hint on that, lay on that a bit as well, because anyone listening, and there should be millions of people listening to this, obviously, a lot of credit got to go to you guys for putting in that framework for taking kids from such a young age and giving them that opportunity to do that. So massive credit to you guys for all the work that goes on in the background. And I know we've, not to ruin all our other podcasts, which everyone should go back and listen to, but Mick did that by putting that framework in place, and you could see a pathway.
Yeah. And
that inspired you to want to play, to want to go and train separately, to want to pick a ball up and enjoy it. And a recent interview we did, someone mentioned the fact that when you get up to sort of the age of 18, you got really good access to go to sports halls, to you're at school, to go outside, because you got a lot of free time and stuff. And then when you get to sort of 18 and get a bit older and maybe uni, whatever it is, you've got a bit more of life hitting you. So getting all those fundamentals, all that thing at that early stage is so critical to where are you going next on your pathway.
Definitely. Yeah, completely agree. They say, back in the day, Mick had the setup with the Saturday mornings that we used to run, and then, as Paul was saying, you get invited to the Monday night or across the other side of the curtain to the bigger court, all that kind of growth was great, and it kind of inspired kids who some kids would turn up, I want to try basketball, and they try it for a month, like we have sometimes with the Fun of Fundamentals. They try it for a month and they go, actually it's not for me, which is absolutely fair enough. But the ones who want it, they kind of got that and they get that bug, and we see that through the youth level. We've seen some kids come through and it's actually, you know what, I keep seeing that lad. Or, you know, I notice it through, you know, I don't go to the Fun and Fundamentals a lot, but when I do pop my head in and see it, it's like, oh, okay, cool, we got some guys now, you know, for when I used to help out the Fun and Fundamentals sort of 5-6 years ago when my two lads were going through that sort of thing, seeing some of the lads who were down the kind of the baby end at the time, because there was the proper little tots, wasn't there, that we used to have.
Baby,
yeah. And
like,
you're seeing, oh wow, is that little kid who was down there?
Yeah.
You know, 5 years ago, he's now looking to push to the under 10 team. You know, and beyond. That's great. That's what it's all about. We put those guys in there now, and then in 5-6 years' time, they're going to be the guys leading the 14s and the 16s. You know, and hopefully, theoretically, they should be better than our current lads, because our current lads maybe start picking up the basketball at the age of 12. You know, you pick up basketball at the age of 12, you haven't got that 5-6 years beforehand where you actually learn to shoot properly, you know. But from the age of 12, you can have a real accelerated growth and get there quickly as well. But what's really good is we're going to have that standard.
Yeah.
So if you do come along at 12 years old and want to get in the club, actually, there's a load of really good players here. So if I want to break in, I've got to get even better than these guys who are already good enough.
Yeah, and there are some kids around the club in some of the ages, and you just, like, young, and you look at them and go, they're going to be good if they keep playing. And when I see those kids, I tend to go to the parents and just say, he's doing really well, or she's doing really well. If they keep playing, they're going to be a really good player, because you can just see they're natural.
Yeah.
The other thing I try to highlight, I mean, I'm not coaching a National League team. I just kind of help out when someone can't make it. But when I'm covering, I always say the same thing, is like, if you cheat in practice, what do you think you're going to do in a game? So when they're doing a drill and they're cheating, I'm like, what are you doing? What are you cheating for? Cheat now, you're cheating practice. Like, you're doing yourself a disservice. So it's like, play now like you're going to play in a game.
Run at game speed.
Exactly.
The time, because all of a sudden, when you come around to that game time, you're going to run that little bit faster.
Yeah.
And if you're running full pelt to score a layup for the first time in a month, because at training you jog to take a layup in the layup drill, you're going to miss because you're running too fast.
Yeah.
You know, so you've either then got to slow it down a step so it's an easier layup for you, in which case you might get blocked, or the other option is, at practice, run as fast as you can and score that layup. You know, practice it. The more you practice, the better you're going to get at it. You know, practice shooting under pressure, practice all that sort of stuff, and, you know, that's what we try to improve, try to get their defense up, so when we go into these teams, if we are playing a team who's really good defensively, well, actually we're really good defensively too. So we're used to scoring against good defense in practice, so scoring against you is going to be easy. And then when we go up against teams that defense isn't quite as good as ours, then that's when we pick up the nicer wins, so to speak.
I mean, just going back, I suppose, to when you first gotten into it, and I think anyone who's listened to all the pods that we're doing will have this story that's being built, this historical story. So you had with the youth development, Simon Coteau,
yes,
French guy, and he, you know, was building a National League girls team, really good team,
a successful team, yeah.
But there was nothing in the boys, and Steve Davison came in.
That's right,
and was trying to build it up, and that's when you came in.
So at the same time, Simone was started the Fun and Fundamentals, which Rob and me kind of got involved in a little bit at the time, and because my boys were going to that, so they wanted to go along, and we were kind of looking, this is really good. And at the same time, I think Steve come along to one of the sessions and basically said, all right, any boys who are around the age of 10, and at the time there wasn't many boys at the Sunday session at all, and he looked at the boys who were there and said, actually, do you 5 or 6 want to come and train on a Saturday morning? And Harry was one of them. I was like, oh yeah, can I go and train on a Saturday morning? And he turned up, and at the time, I think the oldest boy there was under 14s, but Harry was 10, and Harry had 3 or 4 10-year-olds, but Harry's always been quite tall. So he was looked at as being, you know, when you're young and you're tall, people think you're older. So people thought he was 12 or 13 when he was only 10. And he played on the under 14s Sabre League team at the time with Steve Davison, got involved in, and which was great. He wasn't getting a lot of minutes, but he was going up and playing the odd matches, and they got to the playoffs, and they did really, really well. But at the time, Steve, at the time, I think we went up to a match. Steve got the date wrong, and all the matches were at Alresford, Winchester way. So a load of us all drove up thinking we got a game, and we got there, and Steve went, really, really sorry, I've just found out I got the week wrong, it's next week. And we're like, okay, no problem. And he sort of said in the same way, I could really do with some help on the admin side. Is anyone who wants to give me a hand? I was, yeah, go on then, I'll give you a hand. So at the time, it was kind of team manager sort of role.
Wow, Mark. Team manager.
Yeah.
Tom Milner, team manager.
Yeah, so TM. So at the time, it was kind of like, okay, I'll do this. That's great. I was also watching, and because obviously Harry was 10, just turning 11, and I knew the ages of about 4 or 5 of the other lads in that team. And I was watching those guys who weren't getting many minutes. And I was thinking, do you know what? There's an under 12 level at Saba as well. With those guys that we've got, we could have an all right under 12 team next year. So I sort of said to Steve at the time, look, I'll get my coaching badges and I'll take on under 12 team.
So
because
that's
I
when
wanted
you
to see.
Took it on.
Yeah. And that's when me and you went and did that coaching course in Southampton University all those years ago. And
So you went to Southampton
yeah, that's where it was.
knowingly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I
weird little corridor court,
completely
wasn't it?
forgot all about that. I mean, how long ago was that? That's got to be
6 years.
6 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you forgot about the fact you even said that we met Tom and Rob at basketball, but we didn't. We met Tom and Rob when we used to swim Friday nights.
Oh, did
Eastney
we?
swimming pool.
Yes.
Yes, we did.
God, that's going back.
Yeah, there we go.
sometime, that
Elephant
is.
in the room.
Wow. And you know what? None of those kids were there for the hour. It was just those last 10 minutes when they brought out the floats. That's
Yeah.
what we were all
Yeah.
there
Or
for.
just
Or the black brick to throw in the pool.
yeah. Or
Yeah.
I just remember jumping in the deep end.
Absolutely.
We used to be. No one used to swim. Everyone used to jump off the side and just do stupid jumps into the pool.
Well, it never had a shallow end, really, did it? It was a sort of less chance of drowning mixed with, you go.
You can't see the floor, yeah.
Yeah, just jumping.
Oh, right. I completely forgot we did our coaching level together.
Yeah. So yeah, and after that,
It's silly in a way.
It was a
because
memorable time.
We were coaching probably before that. I just know the coaching award was to make it more official because we were taking on, I think you were doing the under 12s and I was doing the under 16s.
I think so. Yeah, we were all starting to try and get more involved, weren't we?
Yeah.
And try to help out. And at the time, so Steve was still doing his Saturday morning sessions. He had a couple of weeks off, and then he decided, actually, you know what? I don't want to continue coaching anymore, which was fine. He had his own decision. He wanted to concentrate on playing because he was still, and he still is, a really good player. So he decided, I'm going to move up and do the playing. And I took on the under 12s, and we went to the Saba League that year, Saba Local League under 12 year. And we did okay with those boys. But since then, the Saturday morning session kind of took on a life of its own. We started off with having a group of, say, 10 or 12 players there. And at the end of the first year, we were getting 30 to 40 kids. You know, that Saturday morning, 30 to 40 kids running around to different age groups. And lucky enough, we had other people who would step in and help out. Like, you would come and help out some sessions, and other guys would come in and step in and help out to coach. And we were just building the club. But it kind of just, all of a sudden, the boys' side started growing
Exploded,
massively,
didn't it? Yeah.
compared to the girls' side, because the girls was always the side that we had. And they kind of, once that team finished their National League season that year,
Just folded.
just dissipated.
and then I think half the team went and played for Kestrels, and then that was it. And then the boys really took over.
Yeah.
You know what?
Fourth
I
time
do,
you mentioned them, just saying.
I do think it exploded, and I do think this off season it's exploded again.
Yeah.
It feels like it went up a notch because we've suddenly got this National League, and it feels like, I mean, especially when I was watching the trials. It was like, wow, another explosion. Kind of, it's just gone up again.
It was that day, wasn't it? If you got down there in the morning, it's right, okay, we've got the under 12s for so long and the under 10s. And you just watch, bloody hell. There's loads. There's loads, you know. Just so many kids coming to play.
So that ends this episode of the Portsmouth Basketball Podcast. Part 2 of this interview will be coming out in 24 hours, so tune in for that one. But until then, wherever you are and whenever you're listening, we thank you so much for your support. Till then, bye-bye.